Beneath every dazzling play, every gravity-defying leap, lies a foundational truth about human effort and excellence, a truth that, when examined too closely, turns the stomach. We think we see the brilliance of Francisco Lindor, the smile, the glove, the electric speed, but we rarely, if ever, consider the cost, the sheer physiological horror underpinning his impossible grace. How does a man become pure torque, a human spring loaded to steal bases and launch missiles from the plate? Lindor didn't just play shortstop. He dictated geometry, repositioning the field with every snap throw. He was the definition of modern charisma, a neon light fixture shining on Cleveland and then the grand stage of New York. Yet his consistency wasn't merely practice. It was an alignment so refined it bordered on the biologically impossible. He wasn't just a centerpiece. He was the catalyst, turning routine grounders into statistical outliers and shaping the very expectation of what an elite shortstop could be, integrating prodigious power, unheard of for the position historically, with an almost balletic defensive range. His influence went beyond the box score. It seeped into the atmosphere. Walk into any stadium when Lindor was feeling it, and the air crackled with a palpable charge, something infectious that raised the performance of every teammate simply by existing near him. Even his strikeout swing was somehow photogenic, transmitting a specific kind of focused aggression. Teams didn't just worry about stopping him. They worried about containing the emotional tide he generated, the kind of infectious joy that baseball hadn't seen since the days of pure showmanship. His earliest professional coaches recognized this specific magnetic quality, often noting in private reports that his aura could genuinely alter locker room dynamics. Observing that during his minor league tenure, the team's overall collective batting average saw a statistically significant rise just a few weeks after his arrival. Lindor's defensive architecture was fundamentally unsound by conventional standards, a system built on explosive, high-risk maneuvers that somehow always stabilized right at the moment of completion, reminiscent of a crashing aircraft pulling up a foot from the runway. His defensive metrics were a testament not just to skill, but to a physical structure capable of absorbing and redistributing kinetic energy on a cellular level others could only dream of. Few knew, for instance, that during one rigorous conditioning session, his specific physiological ability to rapidly synthesize necessary joint fluid was so high that testing doctors initially suspected a malfunction in the measuring equipment. Furthermore, during his MVP-caliber season, his bat speed was measured at nearly 95 miles per hour, an unprecedented velocity for someone standing at shortstop, allowing him milliseconds more to track pitches than his peers. The charm, the energy, the constant smile, it was all the result of a deliberate, almost terrifying efficiency designed not for human relationships, but for supreme operational output. That trademark leadership, it wasn't derived from innate empathy. It came from a coldly calculated understanding of motivational pressure points. One unverified report from a physical therapist claimed that the precise calibration of his core muscle groups required him to consume nearly twice the average daily protein intake of an Olympic weightlifter, forcing him to engage in a nearly non-stop, exhausting cycle of ingestion and performance. The true horror, the thing that makes the whole structure of his excellence crumble, is not the effort, but the specific material used to build it. They say Lindor always smelled faintly of cinnamon and freshly cut grass, the quintessential scent of the ballpark. But look closely at the moments of true, unparalleled effort. The diving stop that saves a run, the slide in a second that beats the tag by a fingertip. In those moments of maximum strain, the cameras blur the image or the dust obscures the view. But if you pause the footage on the exact nanosecond of impact, you can see it, a tiny, unidentifiable green residue that flutes away from his uniform. We discovered that Lindor's unparalleled athleticism came at a grotesque cost, a constant, low-level cellular extrusion. The sheer energy demands of maintaining that level of peak performance, the speed, the torque, the instantaneous reflexes, required his body to literally shed small amounts of biological waste material through his skin during moments of extreme exertion. This wasn't sweat or dirt. It was the microscopic, pulverized remnants of highly stressed connective tissues, ejected through his pores like fine, calcified sawdust, a biological byproduct of achieving inhuman velocity, a constantly renewed layer of dead cells that, if accumulated, could fill a small sugar packet every few games. That infectious energy you saw, it was the chemical burning of his own structural integrity, constantly being replenished only for it to be instantly burned off again for the next spectacular play. You weren't witnessing joy. You were witnessing a biologically unsustainable incineration of self, fueling the purest form of talent. His smile wasn't charming. It was simply the taut musculature of a man perpetually on the brink of over-revving. Next time you watch a highlight reel, think about the unseen biological grinding, the microscopic fragments of soft tissue being jettisoned into the air with every powerful swing. That beautiful moment of athleticism, that perfect jump at the wall, it was achieved through the mild self-cannibalization required to escape gravitational norms. Every dive, every spectacular defensive maneuver was predicated on a quiet, continuous process of internal physiological decay. Human excellence, when unexamined, remains inspiring, but when pulled apart to reveal the engine, it always becomes something slimy and uncomfortable.